Rick built his life around a single unsolved riddle. Why does Oak Island keep talking back? Every time a drill bites into its soil, the ground seems to whisper new secrets. One week, a camera catches a flash that looks metallic. The next, sensors pick up trace readings for gold and silver far beneath the surface. Then, silence again, just long enough for the imagination to reset before the next spark. For more than half a lifetime, Rick has lived inside that rhythm of signal and silence. He's not chasing fantasy, he's chasing closure. Proof that centuries of stories about buried wealth have a foundation, in fact. The legend is older than him. It began in the late 1700s when local boys dug at a strange depression in the earth and struck timber at perfect intervals, as if someone had built a staircase straight down into history. Over 2 centuries, countless dreamers have followed that same spiral. Miners, engineers, soldiers, even presidents. Yet none have reached the end. The mystery seems to reset for each generation, waiting for new hands. Rick doesn't believe the island is alive, but even he admits it acts like it. It reacts, resists, and teases. Flooding traps explorers just when they think success is close. Timbers appear where no trees should exist. The very ground seems to hold memory. To Rick, Oak Island is more than a treasure site. It's a test of human focus, the place where obsession meets patience. It's also the ultimate story engine. Every theory, every drill hole, every muddy discovery keeps people watching because each piece could be the missing link. Rick carries the quiet belief that the island has an answer. It's just waiting for someone patient enough to hear it clearly. The tale of Oak Island had already become global folklore before Rick Lagina ever stepped foot on its soil. Early diggers in the 1790s claimed to find oak platforms, a pickaxe blade, and traces of charcoal. Newspapers called it the Money Pit, and soon the idea of hidden pirate gold was printed from London to New York. As more companies drilled, more water flooded in, and the floods themselves became evidence. Proof, people said, of ingenious flood tunnels built to drown intruders. For generations, the island was treated like an engineering ghost story, an unsolvable maze designed by long-dead geniuses. When Rick and his brother Marty took over major operations, they brought something the island hadn't seen before: patience backed by technology. Rick didn't start with superstition. He started with structure. If natural tides could mimic man-made traps, then only repeatable data would count. He mapped every known shaft from the past 200 years and marked each one as a hazard. He cross-referenced every supposed discovery with physical evidence. When stories didn't match the soil, they were cut from the record. Rick's approach reshaped the culture of the hunt. The focus moved from blind digging to layered verification. History books, archival letters, ground scans, and chemical samples all had to line up before a single new hole was sunk. It wasn't as exciting to outsiders, but to scientists and engineers, it was revolutionary. Under Rick's leadership, Oak Island became less of a myth and more of a working case study, a real-time experiment in how legends evolve under pressure. Each discovery, even small, added to a catalog instead of another rumor. Over time, that catalog grew into the most complete historical database the island had ever seen. And that, more than anything, gave the mystery longevity beyond the headlines. The mystery of Oak Island doesn't survive on artifacts alone. It feeds on paper. Maps, letters, cryptic drawings, each one adds a heartbeat to the story. Some charts show odd compass roses. Some include Masonic or Templar symbols. Others list coordinates that roughly fit Nova Scotia's outline. For believers, these documents prove that a secret brotherhood buried something of value. For skeptics, they're creative hoaxes that snowballed over centuries. Rick treats every paper trail with respect, but not reverence. A document's age matters less than its accuracy. If an old map marks a line that matches seismic data, it gets priority. If it doesn't, it's archived, not trashed, because even false trails teach something about how the legend grew. His system-first lens sees Oak Island as an engineered project, not a single act of panic burial. A real system would mean planning, redundancy, and design. That theory explains why timbers reappear at similar depths in distant shafts. It also accounts for signs of both early and later digging. Maybe the site wasn't one vault, but a living depot, used, sealed, and reopened across decades. To make sense of those layers, Rick's team blends historians with engineers. A symbol carved into stone gets cross-checked against known fraternal designs from the 1700s. If a link exists, they follow it. If it's coincidence, they log it and move on. Slowly, a pattern forms. Repeated geometry, precise angles, careful symmetry. These aren't things nature does on its own. Every discovery strengthens the sense that Oak Island wasn't random at all. It was managed. And that idea excites Rick the most. A single jackpot would be historic, but a functioning transatlantic network of hidden depots? That would rewrite world history. That's why he keeps both theories alive. The romance of treasure and the logic of infrastructure. Either one would change how people see the golden age of piracy forever. Technology gave the island a new voice. Rick uses seismic surveys to map contrasts deep underground, radar to trace near-surface changes, and borehole cameras to capture real-time footage from the depths. These tools replaced guesswork with hard data, but they also revealed how chaotic the subsurface had become. Decades of earlier excavations left twisted metal, rotted beams, and false pockets that fool sensors. Rick's solution is convergence. One line of data means interest, 2 lines mean planning, and 3 lines mean action. This method changed everything. When one survey found a rectangular cavity, the team didn't rush in. They drilled test cores, examined wood samples, and dated them before taking another step. Some samples showed tool marks inconsistent with modern work, evidence of hand chisels and primitive augers. That detail lit a spark, proof of organized effort from an earlier century. Rick's calm response became a signature moment. Instead of celebrating, he logged every measurement and immediately called for confirmation from another lab. That's Rick's style. Steady, methodical, never rushed. Over time, dozens of voids and anomalies mapped out like pieces of a jigsaw. Some aligned with ancient diagrams, others appeared along natural fissures. Sorting man-made from natural became a kind of art form. To outsiders, progress looked slow. To Rick, it was progress in its purest form. Data replacing folklore. Every season's map grew sharper, every shaft more defined. For the first time, the island began to yield a 3-dimensional history. Layers of effort, failure, and ambition stacked through time. And even after long days that end in nothing but mud, Rick keeps the same rule. The island is patient. People must be more patient still. Quick victories collapse. Careful work endures. The phrase, gold in the water, travels faster than science. When lab reports revealed traces of gold and silver in groundwater, global media declared victory. But Rick knew better. Those readings meant microscopic signatures, barely measurable but consistent. Enough to say that precious metals had interacted with the environment. Not enough to claim a vault. To Rick, that nuance matters more than drama. He treats each chemical clue like a witness statement. Valuable, but only if supported. A single spike could mean contamination. 3 consistent spikes across different samples mean pattern. And patterns are Rick's specialty. Over several seasons, repeated positives clustered near the money pit and a section called Smith's Cove. When cross-referenced with old flood tunnel maps, the alignment was almost eerie. Either nature was playing an elaborate trick, or human design had left fingerprints deeper than anyone thought. The discovery forced Rick to rethink what treasure might mean. Maybe the goal isn't just metal. Maybe it's proof of industrial-level engineering from a time no one expected it. He also learned to temper excitement. Sensors can misread, soil shifts, and salt water interferes with readings. Still, those recurring chemical signatures became a chorus that refused to fade. For Rick, that chorus is the sound of direction. He's fond of saying that science is the slowest but safest treasure map on Earth. Each data point, however small, narrows the field. Each lab result helps design the next season's plan. Gold in the water might not buy glory, but it buys momentum, and momentum keeps the story alive. Oak Island consumes money, time, and stamina. Under Rick's leadership, safety always outranks spectacle. He's seen storms flood work sites overnight, pumps collapse under pressure, and machinery swallowed by mud. Yet the operation continues because Rick's calm anchors everyone else. He reminds the crew that every setback adds data. Even a failed shaft teaches how the island breathes. Rick also understands the human side. Behind every episode are families, investors, and local workers whose livelihoods depend on planning seasons around harsh Nova Scotian weather. Every member carries part of the weight. When equipment breaks, it's hours of hard labor in freezing rain to fix it. When samples arrive, it's late nights logging each measurement. Rick sets the tone. Steady, fair, focused. Success comes not from luck, but from consistency. That approach earns respect far beyond fans. Historians praise his documentation. Geologists praise his caution. Even critics admit the Lagina brothers raised the standard for responsible exploration. Rick turned the world's longest treasure hunt into a model for how science and television can coexist. The drama is real, but it's driven by data, not stunts. At heart, Rick's leadership is quiet. No shouting, no grand speeches, just direction and follow through. He knows knows legends are fragile. Mishandle one and it collapses. Treat it carefully and it can become evidence. That is what keeps everyone going when progress feels microscopic. Every bolt tightened, every camera lowered, every sample labeled correctly inches the story closer to truth. Among all competing explanations, one has captured Rick's imagination: the network theory. It argues that Oak Island wasn't a solitary vault, but a northern hub in a web of hidden depots managed by pirates, privateers, and merchants who acted more like shareholders than thieves. In this view, wealth wasn't buried once and forgotten. It moved constantly, protected by codes and traps to prevent any single capture from breaking the system. The theory fits the evidence. Mixed timber dates suggest repeated visits. Chemical hotspots appear in clusters, as if value was spread out. Records of 17th century privateering describe cargo transfers along the same Atlantic routes that line up with maps found on the island. For Rick, the pattern is too clean to dismiss. He imagines a secret network operating like an early offshore bank. Investors, captains, and officials sharing profits through coded ledgers and underground storage. If true, Oak Island could be the key node, the vault of vaults. That would mean the treasure isn't only gold, it's knowledge. Proof that piracy evolved into organized finance centuries before modern corporations. A single ledger or chart naming participants would change history books overnight. Rick pursues that possibility as carefully as any drill hole. He knows a sealed chamber would bring headlines, but the network theory could bring legacy. The idea also explains why the island still hides its heart. If the designers wanted redundancy, they'd build traps within traps, decoys within decoys. Every obstacle Rick faces could be intentional, part of a centuries-old design to buy time against anyone impatient or reckless. In that sense, the island might already be doing its job perfectly. To extend the idea, the network could have used seasonal waypoints that made practical sense. Winter-safe harbors in the north, hurricane-sheltered coves in the south, and busy colonial ports where cargo could blend into normal trade. Smaller caches could act like escrow, held until disputes were settled or partners arrived with the correct signs. A ledger might list nothing more than symbols, amounts, and dates, yet that would be enough to unlock the pattern. Such a system would explain why evidence appears uneven. Tool-marked wood at depth without a clean vault. Iron clusters that feel like framework. Traces of precious metals without a neat stack of bars. It would also explain the careful geometry Rick keeps chasing. Angles and alignments that look like maintenance paths, not random digging. If designers expected enemies, they would spread risk, rotate entry points, and prepare resets after each breach. In that model, Oak Island's long record of partial finds, floods, and near misses becomes a feature, not a flaw. The behavior of a living safe that only opens for the right combination, at the right time, with the right instructions. After so many winters, surveys, and cautious digs, Oak Island remains balanced between proof and promise. No confirmed hoard has reached daylight, yet deliberate human work appears where none should exist. Scans keep drawing edges too straight for nature. Chemical traces continue to whisper of metals long gone, and each recovered artifact, a nail, a beam, a coin, adds one more pixel to the island's hidden picture. Rick knows there are only two real endings. One is cinematic, a sealed chamber full of gold, timber-lined walls, and relics that can speak for themselves. The other is quieter but equally powerful, a pattern of dates, materials, and documents that proves the existence of a global network. Either would be history. Both would justify a lifetime's patience. Until that day, Rick's mission stays the same. Protect the team, protect the evidence, trust the process. Each season builds on the last, and each setback sharpens the next plan. The island remains both adversary and ally, testing everyone who dares to touch it. Someday, perhaps soon, the last layer will give way, and what lies beneath will finally explain why this patch of Nova Scotia became the world's most persistent mystery. When that moment comes, the pause before celebration will be pure silence, the sound of centuries exhaling. And standing there, calm as always, will be Rick Lagina, the man who turned a legend into a science experiment and refused to quit until the story told the truth. Subscribe to Gold Era 2.0 to stay with the hunt as it unfolds. The instant Oak Island stops hinting and starts revealing, the next chapter will move from speculation to recorded history, and Rick's lifelong chase will finally cross from mystery into fact.